But it set us up for just talking about what we're seeing in online marketing trends, as according to some research, and then I'm going to open up for the panel here to talk a little bit about what they're doing. Now, we all said this to each other last night. This isn't about exactly how you should do it. It's a little bit of an education on how some brands and clients are attacking some of the situations that are being set upon us in 2013. It's a good chance also for you. I think one of the things that we hear about a lot is, why won't this brand work with us, or what are they doing? I don't know how to work with them. When you work with large companies, a lot of times affiliate marketing, performance marketing is just one segment of what they do, and it gives you a perspective from these individuals, how they work, what they do, what kind of situations that maybe you have no idea about that are set upon them on a day-to-day basis. Did anybody go to see Rudy this morning? One of my favorite parts about this conference is there's so much inspiration that's become us, and three of us here are actually San Francisco 49er fans because we're from Northern California, and if you know our coach, he's very inspirational. So his statement is, what we believe in is preparation. It's going to put us in the best position possible to be successful. We go to the work and attack it, and that's our message. Now, Rudy this morning talked about dreaming. I had talked to him before. He also talks about, don't just dream, you got to execute. So for affiliates, we had a guy a couple years ago named Gary Vaynerchuk who said, affiliates are the hardest working people out there in marketing. They are the Rockies of this business, of marketing business. And I think when you think about what you want to do this year, you have to be prepared and understand what it is that you're going to be attacking this year, and think about how you're going to execute that. So these individuals here are going to talk to you a little bit about that. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to start here with Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Aki. I am from Gap.
Why don't you tell a little about what your title is?
Oh, sorry. I am the Senior Digital Marketing Manager. I am responsible for our affiliate programs in the US and Canada, and also social display.
Hi everyone, my name is Kuan. I am the Director of Customer Acquisition, Monetization, and Retention across mobile, social, and web at Disney Interactive.
I'm Ewan Darby. I'm from Neo at Ogilvy, and I head up the affiliate marketing activity for the company globally. So I'm based out of New York now.
I'm going to also excuse some of these individuals. We all realize we're all a little bit sick, but we're just going to try and power through this. So hopefully,
I'm sick.
Yeah, don't get near them. So some of the trends we're seeing here. So quickly, as we all know, e-commerce is still a very, very small part of advertising out there. Okay, or actually retail out there. Well, still a lot of it's done in offline retail stores, such as the Gap, Banana Republic, etc. But you also see somebody like Disney who closed their stores. So you're seeing starting to see some trends in how people are making their purchases. At the same time, we see online advertising growth. I think even TV has now been surpassed by online advertising, for online advertising dollars. And we all know, I probably can't see this, but this is Google and Facebook are really kind of taking all the dollars. If you all are out there and you know how much you're spending on Google as opposed to other channels out there, I don't know if you use TV or if you're using other portals such as Yahoo and AOL, most people are finding that they're spending a majority of their dollars with Google and going towards Facebook. And if you don't know the Google story, over the past several years, they've made some significant changes just for themselves to grow. They started with Frugal. They started investing in Google product search 2 years ago, they started product listing ads. Anybody use product listing ads? Okay. And probably in this last year, you saw a significant change with Google product shopping. When you go and search, you'll see, if you haven't seen the Microsoft ads, what you see now when you are searching on Google is much more paid than SEO, and even the SEM is getting more expensive. So for large brands, and even for smaller brands and affiliates out there, getting your traffic is becoming more expensive in SEM. And your SEO, many of you might be finding that your SEO is not as productive as it was in the past. I know with my company and my competitors, their SEO has diminished somewhat, and their SEM has gotten more expensive, so they're spending more to make just as much. So I'm going to open this up to the panel here. We're going to talk about what they're doing, and then we'll hopefully save 10 minutes or so for you to ask individual questions. I know with Kuan here, everybody wants to know about what she's going to do with Star Wars this year, but we'll save that for you guys to ask later. So I know I'd set you up. I'm sorry. Michael, why don't you start? And why don't you tell us a little bit about how affiliate marketing is thought of within the Gap, and maybe a little bit about what you're seeing.
Sure. Historically, in the Gap, it's actually been sort of an unspoken word. People don't like to actually discuss what affiliates do. They know that it drives a lot of demand for us, but I think in some parts they don't really like some of the more what they consider sort of seedy places where they don't want to be associated in terms of brands. For some of our brands, they're a little bit more elevated than maybe like an Old Navy or a Gap or Banana Republic brand, for example, would prefer to see themselves as a brand that's elevated to blogs, for example, like high-end blogs. And so I think there is some learning or some teaching actually that me and my team have to do in order for the company to understand what exactly the benefit of partnering with publishers are. It's a learning process, I think, for everyone involved, and I've taken a different approach, I think, within the company of, what's been really helpful when I first came on board was that we managed to do a little bit of road showing, and I think that's really helpful in terms of bigger corporations where people might not understand what's going on, and as long as there's a lot of transparency within what you're doing and how you're actually partnering with these people, I think they'll understand a little bit more.
Sure. So at Disney, there's different platforms. Disney Interactive, we have games that are on different platforms. So, for example, for our mobile division, affiliate distribution is extremely important. It is a way for us to get in front of other audiences and target engaged audience through affiliates networks and through their customers. So we do pay quite a bit of attention within the mobile side to develop and grow and enhance those relationships, because that is really what helps us to make sure that at the end of the day, when we develop a game such as Where's My Water or Temple Run Brave, that we can actually execute against getting in front of an audience, which is not particularly age or gender specific at this point for many of our mobile games, to rise up through the charts and make sure that the entertainment that we developed within Disney is really within the hands of our users. On the social as well as on the console front, overall, affiliates is incredibly important for us as well, because it is a way for third parties to come in, or consumers who are interested in some of our new or existing products, to learn more about and read the reviews, as well as get additional traffic back to each of those individual sites. So in a way, it is both a brand play, which is extremely important for Disney, as well as a distribution opportunity to get audiences externally more engaged, or have one of those initial touch points with each of our product lines that comes out.
I want to add to that, because I think distribution is a good word. Mm-hmm. Specifically for us, it really depends on what particularly we're trying to affect, right? If we're trying to affect traffic, then we'll look at a specific vertical within affiliates. If we're trying to affect demand, we'll do the same thing, right? So on the demand side, where we're trying to pull sales forward, we will work with coupon sites more, versus if we needed a traffic push, we will work with like the blogging sites to just get more traffic.
Okay.
And, distribution is key for us to get a lot of that stuff out there.
Okay. So, and you and your little different situation, but how, for example, in a large agency like Ogilvy is affiliates looked at, and I know it's probably not, it's not the same as television advertising, but how does that reflected in some of these, this research that we're seeing?
It's a good question. I suppose I can answer this from two perspectives. The first one, as an agency, 5 years ago, we had no real touch point with affiliate marketing. And now, like, I've been brought over to the US to expand what we do, but in the UK, it now accounts for around 12% of UK revenue for Neo at Ogilvy. So the answer to that question, I suppose, is now it's significant. And we've been very deliberate in the way in which we've tried to build up the business, and very targeted in the way in which we've done that. On a broader level, globally, it's very different. So North America looks and feels very different from Europe, for example, where the majority of our activity has been up to now. It's a very different market. There's very different types of organizations, affiliates, different operators. The agency model isn't a typical one that we see in North America, and the investment that we're making in the channel as an agency appears quite unique, that there aren't very many big agencies doing what we're doing. Asia is very different altogether from Europe and the US. It's full of very disparate markets, relatively sophisticated ones like Australia, where perhaps in the last sort of 7 or 8 years, affiliate marketing has come to the fore. And then very new markets like Taiwan and Singapore and China now, where there's, purportedly meant to be networks, but they're pretty, what's the word? Rudimentary.
Okay.
So affiliate marketing is viewed within the agency as a critical channel now. I think by our clients, it's viewed, depending on which clients you talk to, but for example, British Airways gave a very interesting paper on affiliate marketing and what it means to them. For British Airways bookings, affiliate marketing counts for less than 1% of online. Now, that still is a significant chunk of money when you consider the ticket values and the bookings and the revenues that come through online. But the reason why they invest so much money in it and so much time in it is because we can demonstrate that it's incremental. It's revenue that they wouldn't have got any other way. We can demonstrate that it's valuable. We can also prove very clearly where affiliates are adding value in things, in areas such as different hauls. So long haul is much more profitable. There's different ticket types that are more profitable, so we try and push those through affiliates because that's the one channel that we can directly affect. We can also steer away from things like domestic flights where there's really no profit in it. And then if we look at someone like Sony, who we work with across Europe, affiliate marketing is critical to them, where it's 23% of online. So we operate with very different businesses. We operate, and we have to be sensitive to what those businesses want. But in all ways, I think affiliate marketing, what we're noticing is it's become a critical channel for performance.
And that's interesting. So you said 12%. So I know you, Michael and Kuan, you can't say how much, but can you talk to a little bit? Is it considered a growing area? I mean, I know your title is called growth for you, Michael. So is affiliate marketing considered a growth area in terms of spend for the Gap?
I would say so. I think, with that said, we're looking each year at, even as the budget grows, we're still looking at the best ways to actually invest that money and what actually makes the most sense. And so, the way that we actually diversify our budget is that we invest in the highest return on ad spend. So, whatever channel actually, and that's regardless of whether it's search, SEO, affiliates, etc. We'll always invest in the highest return on ad spend first. But it is growing as a percent to the business. And I think that's just because people started realizing, what the power of it was. I think when I first came on board, tracking went down for like 6 months, and no one actually even cared.
Right.
Like, it probably was 3 or 4 million.
Probably did.
Affiliates did,
Yeah.
but no one in the company actually knew what was going on. They had no idea. They just thought, oh, it's just down. And so it was actually kind of enlightening to for them to see what really this business was to them.
And from the Disney side, we do take, like many companies, a multimedia, multi-channel mix approach to our overall media spend strategy. So whether, we know and we see the value of each of the channels, whether it's SEM, SEO, display, affiliates, TV, social, mobile, all of those channels each have their respective place within each of the platforms that we do run. However, I think one tidbit that probably I would just mention is that, much like Michael is saying, it really depends on the performance. We know that, or us who are in affiliate marketing, things change pretty frequently, month to month, week to week. And so at the end of the day, as a company, as a business, as Disney Interactive, we each have targets, and both revenue targets as well as either subscription or download targets. So frankly, a lot of our money will follow the channels that tend to bring in us to hit that target. It's like landing the Mars rover at some points in times. And so, in certain months, affiliates will be huge because, for seasonality or that particular audience that we're going after, or with that particular affiliate with an audience we're going after, that affiliate can offer exposure into audience that we would not be able to acquire either as cheaply or as smartly as an affiliate would. So in those instances, seasons, weeks, days, we will definitely shift our budget to make sure that we are able to leverage the full capacity of that. But of course, in other months where there's significant competition within the affiliate market, or it is anti-seasonality, we may move to other channels that seem to offer more of the acquisition approach and or retention.
I was going to just comment on media diversity and media consumption and how that's changed so rapidly over the last 3 years, 5 years, and the massive headache it gives agencies and clients. And I'm sure that you guys are in that situation as well, where the revenue available for any given product or any given category is going to either remain the same or grow at a steady rate. However, consumers and the way in which they consume media changes with such frequency and into such new channels that being able to keep pace with that and understand what those channels are, test them efficiently, and generate the revenue required to keep pace with that category, it is extremely difficult. I just was jotting a couple of notes down here, and the changes in the Google algorithm, for example, that keeps us on our toes, every day of the week. We've got to keep track of what's happened, how it's affecting us, what the impact's been on our clients, how we need to change it, the impact on SEO, the impact on paid search. Then we're looking at social platforms, and it seems that every day there's a different social platform. Okay, how valuable is it to the client? What's the engagement with consumers? How can we get messaging out? Then we've got the DSPs, demand-side platforms on display media. Then there's also trading desks, agency trading desks that have developed over the last 2 years. Now, all these different media fragmentations put a big strain on the resources of a client and of an agency to be able to deliver best advice and to be able to do the right thing. So the challenge that we're faced with affiliate marketing, there's probably more development and innovation in affiliate marketing than there is in any other channel. The challenge that we face is because they're not established media or processes, or they're not clearly understood by agencies and by clients as well. The challenge is to first of all test them and to make sure that they are adding value, but also to ensure that they're not doing anything they shouldn't. And I think the fear for a lot of clients has been, well, a lot of these new channels, they're just trying to, a lot of these new affiliates, they're just trying to get one over on us. It's a new way of stealing traffic or of pulling the wool over our eyes. And I think that the big challenge for affiliate marketing, for me, in the US, is about transparency. That's the biggest challenge that I've got, and the biggest challenge that our clients have got, is opening up the communication channels with affiliates and being absolutely clear on what brands need, what my clients need, and also if we can understand that, we can then support those affiliates. We can then support the efforts and put our resources behind it. But I think that's the challenge for me for this year is that transparency.
Yeah, and you know, kind of going on that, you know, you're talking about innovation and change and coming from affiliates, and you know, a lot of corporations are trying to get their hands around social media and mobile platforms. Can any of you kind of tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are around mobile, or what your companies are thinking or doing around mobile or social?
It's the year of mobile this year, right?
Right. Of course,
Hasn't it been
yes,
that way
right.
for the last 3 years?
And last
4
year
years.
was, and I think the year before
Year
that.
for that.
Well, I mean, we'd love to. I mean, more and more clients are looking at mobile, and you know, mobile is a bit of a catch-all for tablets and mobile and so forth. But so we have to be clear on what that actually means, and you know, it goes to media diversity and to what we were saying just there. And so, same thing with social. We've now got social at Ogilvy, and they focus on the owned and earned media, and Neo focuses on the paid media side. But mobile is again, it's a massive challenge for us. I mean, one of our clients is Caesars, and we've done a lot of work with them on mobile, where you know, we've done a takeover on the Strip when anyone's searching for entertainment or whatever, and we've done a geo-targeted campaign just on mobile devices in a geocentric area. So that's proven to work extremely well. But there's, for every one example where something's worked well, there's probably 50 that have died on their backsides. Mm-hmm. So, you know, again, you know, that diversity is a challenge.
Definitely on the Disney Interactive side, the games industry in general, people are playing on more and more new and different platforms. And we all know that console games, while they're very pertinent and people still play them today, one day they will no longer be here. And so as the trends and behaviors of our consumers change, they've moved from console to being on Facebook, and then to being, there was a big shift, as we all know, from all the changes within Zynga and other social platform companies, that the shift has gone into mobile. So very much so, our business lives and dies by our effectiveness to not only produce product that is solely on those mobile devices, but our ability to advertise against them and bring them to market and publish accurately and do it well and engage an audience. So for Disney Interactive, more than any time before, mobile and social are really key ways for us to engage our audience, to learn from them, but also our P&L, if we don't do it well, then we don't survive as a company. So mobile is extremely important, and I think that's part of the excitement. As you look into mobile, there's not only the App Store that you can advertise into, but to acquire customers through different affiliate networks who have reaches into the App Store, whether it be on, you know, iOS or Android. And secondarily, from a social perspective, you know, we do have Playdom also within the Disney Interactive Group, which is all social games. And so us being in front of an audience that interacts socially is going to be extremely important for us to maintain and continue to engage. Needless to say, we produce tons and tons of assets for each of those individual platforms. Another aspect is social. You know, people think oftentimes of, you know, Facebook, and then mobile, of course, is, you know, the phones that we do use and the different apps that we do play with, but is also YouTube. Disney Interactive has a very, very close relationship with YouTube. Just quick YouTube stat here, but of all the videos that are watched, number 3 watched on YouTube is all about games. So our importance within YouTube and our close relationship with YouTube helps us to get in front of an audience that is not only about kids or kids watching YouTube videos, but also adults. And so that is a great exposure and interaction touch point, but also an acquisition vehicle for us in total.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think for us, you know, GetBank, it really, like, to define what, you know, she was mentioning earlier about trends and behaviors, it really, we try to be keenly aware of where our customer is, and, you know, our customer is predominantly female. And so, you know, we see, of course, increased traffic through tablet, increased traffic through mobile. You know, she's playing, you know, the social game as well. And, you know, we try to make sure that, you know, if we're not there, at least we're monitoring what's happening. And so, you know, a good example of this is, with our Theta brand, it's been highly a category merchant, not category, catalog merchant for the past since its inception, and how do we get in front of that particular customer, and we realize that she's using her tablet, she's using her iPad to browse while she's watching television. So getting our catalogs onto the iPad and making sure that it's in browsable format, that's something that we test into, and we see how valuable is this. We realize it's not going to be a big changer or big needle mover, but we understand that that's something that we want to test into. In regards to social, same thing. We're always looking at the the best places of where we can actually get her within, or be at least helpful in the process of if she's trying to buy a tractor, I don't know, on Farm Bill, at least be there so that she can buy some Gap product to give her some credits to pick up that tractor. So I mean, it's something that we're continually evolving, and we're continually, testing small wins and testing, small investments to just see exactly how she's participating in social and mobile.
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit last night about, some successes that you might have seen from affiliates, or trends among groups of affiliates, and you and I talked a little bit about blogging, or like female, or I don't know, any mommy bloggers out there? There you go. Can you talk about, what kind of things you might see that maybe somebody in that area might work on?
It's interesting. From a blogging perspective, I mean, there's obviously some of our brands. We have 5 brands in the U.S., and some of them skew more towards the blogging side. Piper Lime, and probably Gap. And so, we've done a little bit of testing, and Catherine on my team has looked at some of this research on, what blogs have effectively, how they actually change sort of the landscape of some of our brands, and we actually concentrate. Some of our brands are more concentrated on a traffic goal versus the other brands are actually concentrated on a more of a demand goal, demand sales for us. And so it really depends. The difficulty working especially on my team, is that we work with so many brands, and we have to sort of put on a different hat each time we're talking to each of the brands, because we have to look at it from their perspective and what exactly their goal is. And once we sort of understand what their goal is, we can efficiently, look into the affiliate space and say, hey, this might make more sense for, you, Piper Lime, as a brand, and we would reach out to blogs, versus a mommy blogger, people raise their hand, might make more sense for Old Navy.
I'd add to the blogging audience that it's just an additional stamp of approval. We can produce a game. People love Disney, and that gets us a long way. But what's better than someone you've read for the past 10 years, the past 5 years, every single day to learn about, do I really trust this product? Do I think it's worth purchasing? Do I think, my kid should play with this product? Is it good for a gift? Because bloggers spend so much time researching and understanding what products they're promoting, because they have been able to gather and earn the trust of their customers over a long period of time, they actually add that additional, stamp of the cherry on top stamp of approval. Hey, yes, I can do all these things, or no, I should not be doing all these things that I plan to do with this particular product. So from kind of the bringing a game to market, absolutely think that bloggers are very, very imperative to our overall media strategy, and think they're going to be huge in terms of making sure that we have that additional insight and verification from somebody besides ourselves.
A non-biased editorial perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the subjects I've been increasingly interested in over the last couple of years is behavioural economics. And if anyone's done any research into that, bloggers fulfil what is essentially a nudge. There's a great book called Nudge, if anyone's interested in reading it, which probably best describes what you do on a daily basis as affiliates, which is nudge people into action. And I think it's by Thaler and Sunstein, if anyone's got an interest in getting that book. But it perfectly describes really how small things can have big effects, and bloggers do exactly that. It's like a personal recommendation. It's an assurance. When we buy things, generally speaking, we go for something mid-priced. It served us well over the evolutionary period to go for something that's relatively safe. And what bloggers do is tell us the things that are safe. They put into our mental repertoire of products we might buy, the things that they're recommending, and so they're invaluable. They don't necessarily do huge volumes, but that's not the point. The point is that they're providing us with customers and with recommendations and loyal customers. So for me, bloggers are a really interesting aspect of affiliates.
Can you guys also, just for some, I think for certain parts of our audience out there, can you tell us like who are some of the partners you play with in terms of like I think you play with, is it, or you work with CJ, Michael?
Yes, commission
So
junction.
who are the infrastructure online, I don't know, net platforms that you work with, or anything? If anybody wanted to work with the Gap, who would they talk to, or?
In terms of,
Yeah, affiliate program. So it's at CJ, and how does that work?
I mean, it's as easy as signing up on our program through CJ. I mean, otherwise, I mean, they can get in touch with, me or someone on my team.
Okay.
To just sign up. I mean, I'd be surprised if there was someone out there that wasn't part of our program.
Do you work with agencies or anything at all?
Aside from CJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, but more on you mean on the search side and stuff like
Yeah.
that? Yeah, I mean, we have multiple agencies. I mean, like for search, we have iProspect. We work with a couple of different agencies for social. Same thing with SEO. I mean, there's a bunch of agencies that we have in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why, Kuan?
Yeah, so we work with a number of agencies, and just depending on which product an affiliate is really interested in promoting, of course, something on a mobile product may or may not go through a CJ, but something online would, as well as something kind of unique or special or arranged in a specific way, may go through a different network. So first point of contact, there's actually a couple of us here, and Andrew Frederick, who's in the audience, would be great to speak to, or myself.
No, wait, sorry, I want to chime in just because I think from a resource standpoint, we specifically like to run everything through our agencies, right? Because, like us being my team is actually a really small team, and the overall digital marketing team is actually pretty small as well. We're lean and mean, like we like to say, I'm pretty scrappy, but we also like to make sure that, if we do partner with someone, that we have the ability to make sure that, they have the tracking available, that they, they get paid on time. And so a lot of our agencies do that for us. Right. They handle all of that, all of the stuff that our team can't handle internally.
Right.
So, I mean, that's an important, I think, to factor in when we're talking about if you wanted to work with the Gap, for example, the odds of, I'll be honest with you, like, if it came to partnering with us directly, some people in the company will not look for anything below 2 or 3 million.
Okay.
As an opportunity to just come in. If you're coming in and saying, hey, I can drive $20,000 or I can drive $100,000, that's really not of interest to us. We have such a huge presence, I think, in the U.S. that, like, that wouldn't really move the needle.
Right. Right.
I mean, just in terms of networks and globally, we work with somewhere in the region of about 17 or 18 different networks. Whenever we get a piece of work and we're putting it out, we always issue an RFP, regardless, because we have to be agnostic to networks. We have to look for the networks with the best solution for the client. We can't just go with the ones that we would prefer to go with. It has to be an engaged process with clients and so forth. We also have to be agnostic of partners as well. So, for example, we could never get a search affiliate on British Airways, but one of our top affiliates on Sony in Europe is a search affiliate. So again, we have to take a very open approach, and we have to be very open to what clients want to do. That doesn't mean that we don't have opinions. If you've ever met me for more than 30 seconds, you realise actually I've got quite a lot of opinions.
Ask him about Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, brilliant film. 12 hours of my life wasted. But
Good work,
I got
Michael.
it in there.
you got it in there. Thank you.
Nice work.
Hook, line, and sinker. So yeah, we have to be very agnostic. It also means we've got to work with different attribution models. So if we're running multiple networks, we've got to deduplicate against each network as well as against each other's channels. We've got to make sure that there's fair fighting between the two networks, because there will always be fighting. And we've also got to make sure that communication's going out appropriate to everybody as well. So it does mean we get a good broad view of everything, but it can be quite problematic, because every time it's like starting from scratch.
One of the things that we talked about last night is for all brands you work with, I think I know what, coming from having worked at Ticketmaster, people think all ticketing is the same, and every large company is different. And I know for Michael, you have product cycles and across different brands, maybe different products released, and you have some digital only, or mostly digital brands, or some of them have large retail. And Kuan, I know you have, introduced the new Star Wars products coming, and so you're going to talk about that. Can you talk about how, what are some big initiatives? Maybe about, are you trying to do more child-friendly stuff? What are the kind of the big kind of side notes to your business that people should know in working with a large brand? Your particular ones. I know it's not across everybody's, but maybe for the Gap or for Disney. That was a loaded question.
That was a loaded question. That was a very long question.
So let's see. New side channels. Well, I think Disney Interactive is actually a fairly new division within Disney, and so we have a lot of data, and we have a number of those channels. And I think our big initiatives this year is just to help us to kind of double down on those channels. Really do, as Disney, as a larger part of Disney, perhaps unlike some companies, or like some companies, there's always a brand awareness. But each time we pull out new products, we push out new products. That's what we do. We entertain audiences. And so, one of the exciting things about being there is that there's all these cool, product lines that are coming out. We have the acquisition of, Lucasfilms, and that means Star Wars. And so each day is actually spent kind of trying to figure out what that new big idea is. So you first come up with that big idea, then you figure out, oh, you're part of Disney, so you have all these different channels at your disposal. You've got the Disney Channel, you're part of the ABC family, you've got these cross-promo opportunities. We've got these Hallmark games on mobile, we've got these Hallmark games on consoles such as Epic Mickey, and we've got some online games such as Club Penguin. And so there's a lot of cross-promo opportunities, and there's companies like EA who also do a lot of cross promo as well. And so what is really exciting about being at a company like Disney is that we don't start necessarily with the channel first. We don't say, hey, we're going to make affiliates huge. We want that to happen. We want every channel to be huge. But what we do start off with is, hey, we have this exciting product. How do we bring it to life? And how do we use every channel, and which channel does it best fit with a specific message towards a certain audience? So we try to break it down in that area, but without ever losing sight of what that bigger global idea is. So, when I'm calling out, hey, this is our new strategy for the year, it's more of what is our product lineup? How do we go big? How do we stay within the Disney, the values of Disney? And then how do we execute best so that we're not just getting 1 + 1 = 2, we're getting 1 + 1 = 10, because there's so many resources at our disposal. We could test quite a bit, and then we can also leverage kind of the brain juice and the successes of other product lines within the company to help us to promote what our newest product launch is. So multimedia mix is going to be very important. I think, as people trying to figure out mobile and social, that, we have very, very close relationships with those companies, and we only continue to invest in those even more. And, at the end of the day, it's, all of us getting in a room and literally powwowing on how we're going to make this the next big, cool thing. So I'm not sure I've been at a company exactly that starts off that way. So that's actually pretty inspiring, and, something that I've seen some really, it does take time, but there's some really incredible stuff that comes out of it. So being collaborative and having each person be a channel owner and an expert, just figuring out what those learnings are from that other person and what those channels within, Disney or a product line has done, and then trying to replicate it, but also tweak it in a way that we think that will get us that incremental boost.
And can I just ask how you budget? So do you budget for affiliate marketing the same way that you would do search and display, or do you tend to look at it as more of a cost of sale?
That's a great question. So Our budgets are, we're given one Uber budget, and then on the digital side, we break it down based off of what we think that volume is going to be. But depending on how it actually runs within that period of time, we can either shift budget to an affiliate or away from an affiliate or get more budget, depending on how performance looks.
So do you ever cap activity in affiliates?
It's a little bit more fluid, yeah.
But you do have like some event schedules, so you have release schedules, obviously, of products over time that you know you're going to
Correct.
be getting spikes in spend.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so if we, if for example, we had Epic Mickey as one of our console games, for example. Epic Mickey, yes. It's a very cool game if you haven't checked it out yet. But for that particular game, for example.
Shameless. Absolutely shameless.
Yeah, well, he started it, so. But for something like an Epic Mickey, right, so we basically start off with specific channels. We went on TV, we did big display, we had a huge YouTube channel, but eventually what we did is we migrated more money over into kind of the performance area. So it really depends on what part of the life cycle product launch we're at. And yes, we do have phases, which typically in our minds we say this, phase 1 is going to be better for brand. Phase 2 is going to be better to leverage brand to go into performance advertising. Because I think console in particular has a little bit different of a product purchase life cycle. The hardcore guys are going to come out, the day one when they read that press release when they go to that conference or when they hear about Epic Mickey, they're like, I got to pre-order now. But, that's not everybody. Not everybody's just going to say, oh, great Disney product, I'm going to buy it this instant. So I think in those instances, we really use brand to capture that. But closer to the actual hard launch of a product line, when Epic Mickey went out into stores, that's when we hit digital very hard.
What about you, Michael? Is it just the Christmas sweater, or?
What big ideas? How I'm going to sell that Christmas sweater? I think for us, particularly this year, and within the last year, one of the main focuses that we're specifically in regards to affiliates is how we find that incremental customer, how we actually mine that new customer, and that's a big goal for us this year. It's been a big goal for the last couple of years, and there's some things on our side that prevent that from happening, but ultimately, you'll be hard pressed to find someone that hasn't shopped from one of our brands. So particularly, this year we're looking at that as one of our key goals. Additionally, I think a lot of merchants or retailers, talk about attribution and attributions that go on, and where exactly affiliates fall into that. How do they affect the purchase cycle? For us, at least, within the company, I think it's regarded as somewhere a closer, right? Where you're going to start somewhere else, and you might start at search and look up one of our brands. You come to the site, and then you get retargeted, and then at the end, you decided you wanted a coupon. And so, is that really valuable for us? I don't know.
Right.
It's something that we're looking into. We have this. We continually use the word disintermediation within the company because, we don't like it when someone prevents. A customer that's already come to the site and decides that, they want to get in the middle of the transaction for us.
Right.
So stuff like that we're looking into and how we attribute sales. And then lastly, I think one of the bigger things that we're looking at is, with our company, obviously, we have a brick and mortar presence, and then we have our digital brands, and we're trying to gauge on how we bridge online to offline.
Okay.
That's one of our priorities this year. Is like how do we market online? And we know that our customers are going in stores. Part of our, what's really cool about working at Gap is that for our retargeting, we actually can tell if you've seen an ad, a retargeted ad online. We know whether you shopped in store or you shopped online, and that stuff. I'm kind of hoping that we can. Transfer that over to a lot of the other channels outside of just retargeting. But it's really cool.
Can I ask how you treat returning customers and through the affiliate channel? Do you reward affiliates for any returning customer?
We do. We work with loyalty sites, obviously, until there's a high return customer there at that point. I mean, from some of the original analysis that we did, we've seen maybe 20 to 25% new customers through the loyalty channel. And so we're in a pay to play sort of relationship with them, where we know that they drive a lot of volume for us, but they might not be particularly drivers of new customers. And so, it's whether or not do we give up those sales to find the new customer, or do we continue to do that and then invest in other opportunities where we can find the new customer. And I think it's a balance.
It's really also how you define loyal customers, isn't it?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean, I wish that we're just loyal and straight to Gap and not having to go through like an Ebates or something. Sorry, Ebates, if you're in the room. But, it's one of those things that, unfortunately, I think it's just the nature of the beast at this point, right? It's like once you get into bed with them, it's sort of one thing that you have to just keep on, putting money into, And so that's another thing that we're looking at, but, how we can smartly invest some of that money, and whether or not we invest it into that returning customer, or how do we find that new customer? And I am willing to pay more for a new customer than it is for a returning customer. It's just that, where do I find them?
Well, okay, so we have 15 minutes left, and I'd like to kind of allow any of you to come up to the microphone here, ask any questions in particular, whether it be about a particular product that these people are selling, or just some basic marketing thoughts that you might want to investigate with these individuals, whether it be a dynamic advertising or different platforms. Anybody?
Oh, no questions.
No? Okay, guys, step on up.
Damn it.
Hi. How do you look at incentive-based affiliate marketing, and do you see a trend towards it or away from it this time?
Very, very much towards it globally. Incentive-based affiliates are, some of the biggest in the UK are, in fact, I think the two biggest in the UK are incentive-based. I was talking to somebody earlier who runs a network in Australia, and they're saying that things like cashback haven't really taken off over there, but in the US they're beginning to get ground. Same thing with vouchers. Vouchers and loyalty and cashback and all those kind of incentivized publishers are now represent kind of 60-70% of most programs. For me, I don't have a problem with it, because as far as I'm concerned, what my clients' brands are doing is tapping into their loyalty. Loyalty is a strange word in business, that we presume that because somebody's bought something from us once, they're a loyal customer, and actually nothing could be further from the truth for the majority of the time. So what we need is to find a way, which is why CRM systems and loyalty programs exist, is to get customers to come back time and time again. And the fact that they choose to do that through the affiliate channel rather than direct, you know what? Great. That's fantastic. Because
That's not mainstream. I'm a social cashback, for example. I do have a social cashback site, and our customers are loyal to the benefits. They're not loyal to the brands.
Yeah.
And that sometimes brands, they don't want to acknowledge that, and you brands do have your own loyalty programs that compete directly and are much cheaper than incentive-based programs like ours.
Well, I've got a really good example of what we did with British Airways, for example. We did this globally because they've got a strong loyalty program for BA, and we wanted to ensure that their God, I've forgotten what they call them, like gold and silver. I should really remember that as one of my clients. But they really didn't want to impact their loyalty program. So, and we wanted to test out a cashback site for incrementality. And we were able to demonstrate that, for the most part, affiliates were providing something in the region of 53% incrementality. This particular cashback site was doing 78%.
Nectar? Who?
Pardon me?
Who? Nectar?
I'm not going to tell you that. It's a big secret.
Offline.
But the really interesting thing that we're also able to do was we are only commissioning on non-loyalty card members. So if anyone was a loyalty card, a BA loyalty member of a certain level, we weren't commissioning at all.
So it's either one or the other.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a way of brands to work with loyalty programs that they're committed to, to work with loyalty affiliates. And actually, there's no reason why they can't work hand in hand. They should work hand in hand. As a consumer myself, and really a very good one, I understand that I understand the benefit of looking around for value, and value is perceived.
Yeah.
All value is perceived. There is no absolute value. So if I want to buy a TV, for example, the value for me might be because I get free delivery because I live in New York City, and actually getting a car to go and pick up a TV is an absolute pain in the backside. So having some chap walk up my brownstone walk-up apartment to go and deliver it is an absolute benefit. Somebody else, however, may see value in a free DVD player. Now, that's where loyalty programs and loyalty affiliates, and in fact affiliate marketing, come in, because it's about offering the right value to the right consumer at the right time. And for me, that's why loyalty programs are so beneficial to affiliate marketing, because that's what they're able to do. They're able to deliver value when it's needed.
Well, let's be honest, because I think the consumer profile has changed, right? Because, with the economy being the way it is, I mean, there's a lot of people that, just in general, even if you weren't a value customer before, you're always looking for value now, I think. So I think with that innate change in people's behavior, I think it actually has really benefited the affiliate program in general. Specifically because I think coupon sites have really taken off since that has happened.
And the other thing is that there's a move away from like 20% off and 10% off. That doesn't, then we just rely on price. And once you start relying on price as an advertiser, you're dead in the water, frankly. Excuse me. So it's about providing added value. It's about providing, best value for any given situation. And I agree with you. I think that's absolutely spot on.
Definitely for the Disney side, or for games in general, people may not be willing on a mobile app, for example, or even on a console game, or an online game, to purchase the actual game or become a subscriber until they've actually tested or played with it to see if they enjoy it. Sometimes the upfront cost can be, up to $60 or a little bit more. On mobile apps, it's a little bit cheaper. It could be anywhere from, $1.99 all the way up to $7.99 or greater. And so, with all the apps that one can play with, or all the games that one could purchase, it's incredibly important to have some way of getting that potential customer in through the door, and oftentimes incentive affiliates are the ways that help us to do so. They're incredibly important for getting that mentality of that person just to be willing to try the product. Try before you buy. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I'm a blogger that kind of runs more in an affiliate marketing circle in terms of conferences and things than I do in the blogger circle. And I guess it's a comment and maybe a question, but I've found that then when I'm dealing with the Gap, which I deal with a lot, that I feel like there's sort of like a disconnect between affiliate and influencers. There's a circle within the corporation of we're the part that deal with influencers and this is what that's about. And I try and say, hey, I want to talk to you. I generate over 1 million uniques a year, just all from a loyal following. I want to talk. But I feel, it's not like a boutique where it's a small mom and pop shop where I can build a relationship. Any ideas or thoughts about what I might be able to do, but then also just sort of a statement to you all that I think there are some folks like me out there, and to recognize that, my experience is very disconnected.
Is that experience from all brands that you're working with, or is it just some brands,
Or is that just geared to me?
It did seem fairly direct, to be honest.
Well, you know what? I
Take it on
work
the chin,
some
Michael.
with. Well, I was going to say I don't know how many Ogilvy brands that you represent that I've worked with, but it would be the same thing. Like with Disney, I would think, okay, I'm going to be dealing with someone at CJ who's a CJ rep, and if I want to do something, a giveaway of I really like this product and I want to talk about it, I want to give it away. I'm just it just falls on oh, I don't know how to help you with that. You know what I mean? And I feel a little bit stuff.
So do you work with any programs that actually you have got a good experience with?
Oh yeah, but they tend to be smaller. Right. Where I feel like the program manager really, you know, it's like they're one step away from the decision
Yeah.
maker on the other side, that when it gets too big, it gets lost.
Well, also
somewhere.
affiliate networks, account management.
Speak for yourself.
Their roles are, well, their roles are to talk to all affiliates about all programs. And very rarely are they responsible for just one program.
Right.
I mean,
I get
obviously
it.
the bigger the program, the more likely that is. And so there has to be kind of efficiencies, I guess, which is a real cheap excuse, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think there are ways around it, like newsletters, which I
Yeah.
think are a really good way of providing content, particularly for bloggers.
Right.
I think there's also asking if you can be put on PR discussions so that you can see what the latest news is.
Yeah,
So that you
that
can-
would be the thing, like, right, there's a great thing. Then I will ask the program manager, can you connect me sort of on the
Right.
PR side?
So from the affiliate network side, you know, at least on the Disney side, we as program managers actually make it a point to be very, very directly connected to all of our affiliates, to have that personal relationship, just
Right.
because we really value.
Putting me on the
Sorry,
spot
Michael,
here.
man.
Because everybody get
You're
more.
answering a question for him. Mike will be answering your calls tomorrow.
Because, you know, Disney as a brand also, we want to make sure that, you know, whoever is promoting us is actually, you know, true to our brand. But, you know, speaking for Andrew and myself, you know, we love actually prefer that. But, you know, in other companies, I have seen a lot of that happen. And so what I've always, you know, as the program manager at other companies, I've always asked to actually talk directly with the affiliate. But in those cases, when you meet somebody who doesn't necessarily work that way, then, you know, one thing hopefully that's been effective from the affiliate side is to say, hey, I would like to have a direct conversation with this person. And at that point in time, you know, whoever, hopefully that affiliate network manager is a good one, will make sure that continues to happen. But yes, if you're interested in working with us, or if you do already, you know, we're right here and we love bloggers.
That's
So.
pitch number 2. She did.
Right.
Well, I don't know if
Wasn't as
I'm
direct,
going to answer
though.
your question. I think answer your question for you too. I think a lot of times, it's, as Michael was starting to say, his team is small. I think in a lot of these large brands, even though they're big
resources.
companies, you have a small team, and you're trying to make big revenues, and you have little guys. But I think what will also happen. I know when I was at Ticketmaster, you know, we have thousands of people wanting to say, why aren't you promoting this person or that person? And there's only one page you can promote that person. And you have somebody from Bayat or somebody representing and talking to you, and we don't know who you are. If you do something really innovative, people will know.
Yeah.
I knew people who were affiliates who sold out Kelly Clarkson concerts and Bon Jovi concerts and got jobs with those artists. I mean, if you do it, somebody will know. And I think if you do something very unique, maybe you invent something, you have a different technique, people say, well, what's that? Because you are the super salespeople out there. And if one salesperson kicks it, then everybody's going to say, well, why aren't we doing that? You're testing out the merchandising that these people can't do.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
Michael,
to
How
that
you gonna help
sound. I mean, it is about innovation, right? I mean, we're always looking at innovative people that are doing innovative stuff. I mean, I think additionally, you're just stuck in a place where, particularly with our brands, I mean, to Aaron's point, like, you know, it is about efficiency and being, you know, on a smaller team. It is about resources and how we can dedicate resources to the most efficient channels. But with that said, I think the way our brands are structured, it's kind of complicated. And even if you had a job within our company, you would understand how complicated it really is. You know, you have our brick and mortar brands who do more of the branding stuff. They work particularly with like the Refinery 29s of the world, and you know, some of those branding opportunities where something like that would probably fall into, you know, like a competition or something where you would do a giveaway, might fall more in that line on the PR side, which you probably wouldn't get in touch with us. It would probably be filtered some other way to those brands, and they would say, hey, we wouldn't do that sort of thing. Ideally, I mean, you're in a situation where it's like tough because, you know, you don't have direct contact, and most of the time, unless you're seeing us at conferences, and you know, we try to be really discreet on when we're at conferences. You've seen me walking around. I think I might have had my badge on like once this whole time. You know, I think if you haven't actually talked to us, then it's hard for you to get a hold of us. And you're talking directly to our, you know, you're talking to CJ and trying to work through our program manager to get us on board. And I think, you know, we're open to those ideas. We're open to testing a lot of stuff. I've never been one to shy away from testing. It's just that I think you're just in a particular situation where you just haven't had the right communication or right means to communicate to, like, you know, who could help you out.
Okay.
I mean, that goes for everyone, I
Yeah.
think. I think you just have to find the right person to communicate with that'll listen to you.
Great. Okay, we're running out of time, I think, and if you have any questions, maybe you want to follow up with the panelists up here. One of the things I want to remind you to do is to fill out the sheets here, the evaluation sheets. One thing we're trying to do here, when I started doing these back in 1999, the Affiliate Summit to me, this was when Sean was just a lackey. These were all filled with Amazon and Barnes & Noble and a lot of merchants, and there's a lot of networks here. There are a lot of infrastructure players, a lot of agencies. I see very few merchants, and I don't want you to feel like you're
This is my first time, to be honest.
I think you need to have,
And
we
it's
need to
been
have more
around for so
merchants. And I encourage you, if you found this to be very useful, to put your comments down saying, I'd like to see more panels with more merchants where I want to talk to people who are actually out there, as merchants, not the agencies that you're going to go run into. I think ShareSale does a great job bringing a lot of affiliates, bringing a lot of merchants into the exhibition hall. But I think you want to see more merchants at these conferences. You'll learn a lot more. I think you'll understand what their objectives are because they can't always communicate that to you. So when you think about this, think about how you want to evaluate this panel. Ask yourself if you want to see more panels like this. So I try and do this every year with more merchants. So hopefully you'll start to see more merchants if you encourage this kind of behavior.
Great job, Eric.
Right? Thank you.
Nice work.